Hello Panthers, this is Dr. Hobble, and I'm going to help you solve this problem about band. So it says there are 70 students in the school band. 40% of them are 6th graders, 20% are 7th graders, and the rest are 8th graders. First it asks, how many band members are 6th graders? Then it asks, how many band members are 7th graders? And finally, what percentage of the band members are 8th graders? So first, let's think about how we might solve this using a tape diagram, since that's been our sort of big tool that we've used this lesson so far. So we have 40% of them are 6th graders. I'm just taking notes. 20% 7th graders. So what do you notice about these two percentages? 40% and 20%. What do they have in common? There are kind of two big possible answers I'm thinking could come up here. Pause the video if you're not sure yet. So the first thing I could see someone saying is, well, 40 and 20, those are both multiples of 10. And that's true. That's one really good observation. And what that tells us is that if we find out what 10% of the students are, how many students are in 10% of the band, then that'll help us figure out how many students are in each of these respective grades. Another thing that you might notice is, 20 and 40, those are both multiples of 20, because 20 times 1 is 20 and 20 times 2 is 40. That's true. So that tells us that if we find out what 20% is, that could also help us solve this problem. So you might be comfortable doing the 20% approach, and if so, I'd encourage you to try that. I'm going to do the 10% approach here. So let's find out what is 10% of the band. So what's 10% of 70, since there's 70 students in the band? Well, 10% is like 1/10. So 70 is equal to 10 times 7. So 1/10 of 70, or 10% of 70, is 7. And this is a kind of weird fact, so this is sort of coincidental that the fact that to get 10% of 70, you can do 70 divided by 10, but it doesn't work like that for other percentages, okay? So, for instance, to find 20% of 70, it wouldn't be 70 divided by 20. So 10% is weird in that way that you can just do division by 10. So I want to mention that here because some of this stuff is just a little coincidental that we can think of 1/10 of 70 for 10%. Because that happens because there are 10 groups of 10% in 100%. Okay, so if we think of it this way, so 10% of 70 is 7. I already wrote that. Now let me draw out my band membership. So in my band, let's say I have 10 groups. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Let me draw my really long tape diagram. Okay, so if these are all 10%, so all of them are 10%. Now let's use this to answer the questions that were asked. So first, how many band members are 6th graders? Well, 40% of them are 6th graders. Oh, and also 10%, that's 7 students. Okay, so each of these represents 7 students. Let's put that in our tape diagram. Okay, so 40% are 6th graders. So 10, 20, 30, 40% are in 6th grade. And 40%, or 20% are 7th graders. So 7th grade. And the rest of them are 8th graders. So how many band members are 6th graders? Well, look at all the groups in the 6th grade group. So we have 4 groups. You see that? 4 groups of 10%. Each of the groups has 7 students. So how many band members are 6th graders? You'll find that answer by doing 4 times 7. So find out what 4 times 7 is and then enter that in this box here. Okay, and then it says how many band members are 7th graders. How many groups of students do we have in the 7th grade part of the tape diagram? We have 2 of them, so you would find the answer by doing 2 groups of 7, or 2 times 7. And you'll put that answer here once you do 2 times 7. Finally, what percentage of the band members are 8th graders? Well, that's going to be all the students left over. So look at we have 4 groups of 10% that are left over. So what's 4 groups of 10%? Well, 4 times 10 is 40, so that means 40% of the band are 8th graders. So you would put a 40 in this box. And don't forget to hit check answers so you get credit. Alright, thanks so much for working this problem with me, and I hope it'll help you be successful. Something I would say for this video, you can go back, try to predict my next move. Okay, so if you review this problem, be like, alright, let me see if I can actually do something in the problem before she does it. So pause the video and try to make predictions. Alright, thanks so much.